All right. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you join us for a really cool webinar today. We are going to be speaking with Denise Davis, who is the founder of Planet Fastpitch. Denise has become an awesome customer of Onform. With me is also Kate Wheeler, our director of softball. She's a former coach at Brown. We also have Jenna Bradley on. Let me make sure that Denise is, well, there we go. Cool. Good to have you there, Denise. Thanks for joining us on this lovely Thursday, May 1st.
Thanks for having me, Garrett. This is awesome. We're excited to be here.
Absolutely. A little bit of housekeeping stuff as we get going. We're going to talk today about technology. You've been using technology for a long time in your coaching. We'll get to know you a little bit better and how you work at your facility. We'll learn all about that. And just specifically, love to hear kind of how you've been using technology, video, etc. And then we met a little while back and you started using Onform. And I can't wait to, let everybody hear your journey through the maze of technology to where you're at today. And we'll certainly take questions. If anybody has questions, there's a little Q&A box that I'll be monitoring during the webinar. So happy to have people ask questions. We'll try and get to some live questions as we go. Otherwise, this is being recorded. This will be sent out through our YouTube channel, and everybody will get a notification email when it is available, usually about a day or two after the webinar. So with that, no further ado, as they say. Welcome, Denise. Good to have you. And Jenna, I'd love to just start out. Why don't for everybody watching, just give us a little background of how you got into coaching and softball, and let's just start right there.
All right. Well, I never left softball. So from the moment I signed up as an 8-year-old, it's just been a part of my life. I started off at Brown, where Kate coached. I spent 2.5 years there. I transferred to Rutgers. I got a BS in exercise science. Decided to do a master's. I got an MBA because I knew if I could buy 3 letters after my name, a bank might take me seriously to get financing to open a sports facility someday. I never wanted to coach a team. I'm going to date myself, but this is, the only way to be in softball after you played when I was young was to coach. But I knew I wanted to create something where I was always interested in medical. I was interested in engineering and building and figuring things out. So I wanted to open up a sports facility, and that was not a thing when I was a kid. So I knew if I could just try to engineer my way through something that had never happened before and get enough degrees and be creative enough, I could make this thing happen. So I just kept chipping away at it, and here we are, 8 years later, with a facility over 30,000 square feet. We keep trying to change the game. I keep trying to go bankrupt. I'm investing in all kinds of interesting things, from a sports dome to technology to building lives. But softball is just a part of my heart, and investing in the kids and just trying to grow and do new things all the time and be uncomfortable. And technology is a part of that. So I think as we start this conversation, one of the things I think people get nervous about is early adoption of anything, right? And the thing about Onform and the technology that you guys offer is, it could feel daunting at first to like use something new, but your system is awesome. So the way it's been presented to me and the ease of use is just incredible. So I can't wait to work through this with all of you and show you how easy it is and how it's changed our lives at Planet Fastpitch. It's made it so much better. So thank you for that.
Well, maybe we just need to end the webinar on that. There you go. No, we appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Great. So
No, it's cool. And you run this multi-coach facility, and one of your coaches is Jenna. Jenna, give us a quick background on you and your involvement in coaching.
Well, hello everybody. Thank you for having me on here too. I think like Denise said, Onform has been one of the greatest tools ever, I think. I often joke with the kids in our facility. I was kind of telling you guys yesterday, I wish I could walk around with a GoPro on my head and record every pitch that they throw. And now we actually have the opportunity to do that. So I have been with PFP for coming up on a year now, which is super exciting. I've played softball my whole life. I pitched at the University of Massachusetts, which is how I met Denise. I met Denise when I was a sophomore, the end of my sophomore year, at UMass. And she single-handedly changed my life. I knew I always wanted to get into coaching. At that point in my career, I was working through finding myself as a pitcher and trying to make strides that way. But I had never used technology in how I trained before. I had a lot of hands in the pot developing me as a pitcher, but we had never really broken down how I did things or have someone explain to me why I need to be doing certain things or how I can be more efficient in some ways. So I actually went to one of the camps at Planet Fastpitch. I was assisting, and one of the very first things that Denise told the kids was, "You got to put the phones down, but your phone's your best friend when you're a pitcher." And to see all of the little girls rip out their iPads or their phones to record me doing a drill as I was learning on the spot and have immediate feedback. It was super cool and I totally bought into it. It changed me as a pitcher and now I use it every single day in our facility. So yeah, it's been awesome, but I love coaching and I love helping kids discover more about their pitching, their hitting, anything softball related.
That's great to hear, and I love the fact that as a player you never used video or technology, but then now as a coach you use it every day. It's a cool story. Well, working more on that story, I'd love to hear or just talk a little bit about Denise. You've been around and seen how coaching has progressed. You've used technology. You've been an early adopter of so many things. Tell us kind of what your technology stable was, and then I'd like to move into how Onform changed that, how you got to know us, etc. But maybe start with kind of what your technology world looks like when you're coaching.
Right now, or how it's.
Yeah, I'd just love to hear how what were the sort of tools you were using, and how did you use it in your coaching beforehand.
Okay. Well, I mean, I always used video. I mean, I'm again, like you're all gonna know exactly how old I am when I do this, but I used to travel with a VHS recorder, with the big tapes, and I'd throw them in and I'd show up at tournaments when I was a player because I would try to record people pitching so I could sit and watch because I just couldn't figure it out. So right from that day, I used to watch a lot because that was the only way I could learn. It was like I didn't listen well when people talked about it, but I would watch a lot. So I started with that, and then hats off. Let's tip our cap to Don Slott years ago, who came up with Right View Pro, right? So he, when I started looking at that, and watching high level athletes do things and the nuances of how they threw and hit, that really changed me because what I was saying and what our talk track about how we were teaching, I realized when I was watching high level players in slow motion, that was the first time I realized what I was teaching wasn't matching up to what high level athletes were actually doing. And that's when I stopped and I said, I need to rethink my deliverables. And as a coach, I had to stop and say, I better really fact check if my drills are matching what high level athletes are doing. And I remember that moment in time when I said, I have to go back to my student athletes and say, it's time to make some changes in content, right? Because we have to make sure as coaches that there are a lot of different ways to do things. First of all, if we look at the top 10 pitchers in the country, we might see that they have different ways of doing things. So number one, we can't teach in silos. And two, we have to keep moving with what video gives us. Like, we can't just get stuck in our ways. And so that gave me that with Right View Pro. So, and then unfortunately, Don sold, and then what do we do, right? We need something else. And so I moved into a couple different platforms, but for me, there wasn't a good place to store the data for my kids. And so I then moved into, I was using a software called Analyzer. And this is where, Greg, I was at the convention this year and I had probably about 200 student athletes in my laptop. And so this is what it was looking like. I was taking 2 phones because I like to get 2 angles. And so we have about 90 pictures in our program. So I like to get slow motion and full speed on each athlete. So I would have a camera on this angle and a camera from behind. So I would get, at the same time, I would get 1 clip in full speed. So that's 2 videos, and then in slow motion. So I'd have 4 clips per picture, and you do that like 90 times. And then I'd have to go home. Now I have all this content, and I'd have to airdrop or, get all these videos into this Analyzer app. You have to label them all. So that took hours. And then if I did an assessment, I'd have to, take all that time and then convert it and then get it, download it. And then I'd have to upload it to YouTube and then get it to the kids. So it would take hours to do one thing. And I explained that to Greg at convention. And, when you get Dr. Rose's attention, he's the head of TPI. He looked at me and, excuse my language, he goes, damn, you do all that work? And like, it stopped his world because he couldn't believe, because like I was doing a 2-day session with him and he was like, you have all that content. I said, he's like, you all that work. And he looked at me, he goes, you need to go over there and see gear. Like, I have to do, he said, you need some help. He goes, you need to get a life. And he said, okay, I do need to get a life. But so I walked over, and the fact that you guys could give us now the ability to set up 2 cameras and hit 1 button and have it sync and then have it automatically upload into a student's account. I can't even tell you, like, and I sat there and it just goes right into the athlete's account. So I don't have to go home and spend 3 hours uploading video but remember, when I did that 3 hours of upload before, the student athlete didn't even see the video. I had to still get it to her somehow. Before the kid even gets home, they're looking at their video in the car. So you've saved me, you didn't, I'm not necessarily saying you gave me a life, but you saved me all that time. And so now what we're doing with that time is we're taking it and now we're doing correlations, and now we're hiring interns to help us take that and do other things with that information. And we're creating things and understanding how the body moves better, and we're doing assessments with it. And so it's changing us in ways that I can't begin to describe. It's instant, it's fabulous. And the fact that I could check now, I don't mean to sound like Big Brother, but now we know even the student athletes who are looking at their videos. So I know who the kids are who are curious. I know the kids who got in the car on the way home from testing and went and looked at what they look like. Like, that's important to me as a coach.
Right.
Amazing. So we went through, 80 some athletes, and we went home that night and I was done after the testing. I didn't have to do anything else, which was amazing. So, for anyone out there who does large groups, it's phenomenal. When you're in private lessons, for me, like, I like to teach like this. I have my phone like this, and I'm talking and I'm working and I'm just holding it there, and I just grab, I'm like, hit record, hit record, hit record. And then if there's something cool, athlete driven, that the pitcher wants to see, again, like for pitcher parents, it makes a lot of sense that when an athlete wants to see the video, let her ask. Like, you don't want to be the person that's like, look, but I capture things as we go. And then if she wants to see it, she asks. If she doesn't want to see it, you don't want to drive it into their face. But so if it's there and they're like, let me see that one that felt different, it's right here, we show them. And then at the end of the workout, if it's good, we just tag it, right? And then on the way home, they could just look at the good ones. But before, what I had to do at the end was, this was all on my camera roll. So I was spending so much money on these phones for storage. And then I had to find a way to send all this information to these kids, whether it was text or, Dropbox or whatever it was. So anyway,
I love hearing that. Basically, sometimes I tell people we like to make video work for you instead of you having to work so hard to use video. And you're a perfect example of that. I mean, something else I wanted to just call out that you said earlier, the reason you use video one of the primary drivers is what you realized, years ago. What you were teaching, what you were thinking about a particular pitch or swing or technique didn't actually match what they were trying to do, or they were interpreting it differently, right? Like video, to put it under goofy terms, is, a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth what, 1,000,000? You were actually seeing differences there, right? And you still to this day, I assume, using the slow motion, et cetera, like you described.
Yep.
Something I know people are interested to hear is a little bit more of the actual use cases, right? Like, do you have a certain, when did you start believing video actually was useful for the students? And I mean, I think we're still seeing a lot of coaches go from not using video to using video, or maybe they pull out their phone every once in a while. You use it truly as a tool, right, with all of your players?
All the time. Yeah, I think, well, I saw a paradigm shift here. It's funny. We have a program called the Varsity School, and those kids are starting to really, it's becoming one with their mentality. Like they use it more. It's taken some time though. It's a paradigm shift, right? It's cultural. It's like they're starting to just pick up their phones now and do it all the time because it's something that we do in class, which is interesting though, because kids are on their phones all the time. They're always like, they're 0.5, they're constantly taking video, but then you say, did you video your swing? They're like, no. Like they don't even, it's like they don't even think about it. Like, but now our kids are starting to think about it. So I think that's what, like, Jenna and I are most proud of the fact that we're getting a whole new generation of student athletes who understand that if they want to see something in their motion, they just grab their phone. But it's oddly taking more time than you would think with generations of kids who have the best technology in their hands. It's still taking some time, which I'm not sure why. I think for the older crowd, meaning like, like my age, I think sometimes we get intimidated by technology because we think it's too hard to understand, or maybe we're just worried that it might be like, we might not know enough to sit down with someone to explain it. But I think what's neat about video is when you're sitting down with an athlete, you don't have to know everything. Like you don't have to, it's kind of like you could figure it out together. It's like, oh, I don't know why my wrist feels funny. I don't know, let's look at it together. And if you're collaborating with your athlete, like you could figure it out at the same time. You don't have to know all the answers, which is really fun. Like you could just look at it together, and I've learned to use video. It's funny because you could use video to validate what you think you know, or you could use video to try to actually find things that you don't know, or to just, and I look all the time for things that are different than what I think. And that's what's actually made my bandwidth a lot bigger, because I think you have to be really careful about just trying to validate things that you believe with video, because I think there are just so many different ways to pitch and throw that if you're looking, like I say this all the time, new Jenna, I think there are just so many new things that we should be trying on how to create power and speed, that I'm looking for other ways to do it, not just to try to repeat the same thing. And I think that's, if we looked at it like that, I think the curiosity in using video would be just greater, right? But that's just me on another topic. I could talk about that for hours, but
so Denise, I met you, I don't know, 12 or 15 years ago, and was super impressed how advanced you were with what you were doing. And now looking back, you're probably like, wow, like, and that was, archaic the way you were doing things. But I want to switch gears to Jenna a little bit. Jenna, you just came out of your college career, and everyone thinks like colleges are so advanced. And, talk to me a little bit about, besides working with Denise, did you use any technology at the college level? But now switching into a coaching role directly after your college career ended, what were your thoughts when you first started working at PFP, and then kind of the transition from Denise's old way of doing things to now with using Onform and just having it at your fingertips?
Yeah, totally. So, within my college career, the extent of the technology that we used like the Diamond Kinetics balls that gave us our spin rates, pocket radars, but that was about what we use technology wise. So after meeting Denise, and working with her, I actually was able to integrate that into our bullpens even more. So it was so helpful for me that as soon as I went back that fall, I recorded almost every pitch that I threw, and I would sit down with my coach and look at them and see, this is where I can improve. This is what my really good pitches look like. So I had a folder in my phone of all my starred videos from a bullpen, and I would look at, okay, this one mechanically felt really solid or had a really good pop, had a good spin rate. Let me see what my body looked like during that. But again, that was in a folder on my iPhone or in Google storage that was craziness. So using that, then coming to PFP, and seeing just how much we use technology, I think what Denise was saying about creating curious athletes is the most important. And I've seen that reflected in a lot of my small groups. Like we'll pull up the video during class and we'll say, all right, let's just break this down and look at this for a second. So this is what we're working on. Let's investigate this together. And to see even kids as young as 10, 11, 12 start to be hands-on with what they're doing and say, oh, this is what it should look like, or this is what we're trying to feel, and this is, and have it right in front of their fingertips, is really cool. Because like it's awesome to see their growth. I've had a junior pitching class that we started week 1 with some video, and we'll all huddle around. We'll say, all right, everybody come on over. And everybody gets in, and the hands that raise say, oh, well, this could be better, or your energy flow is a little bit off. Look at how it goes on this line. We'll draw the line and follow the ball. And they're 8 or they're 10, 11, 12-year-olds that are excited about being hands-on with their pitching. As for how technology has shifted while I've been at PFP, I have not had quite as many headaches as Denise has had with the time that I've been downloading videos, etc. But since day 1 that I've been there, I like to keep a really detailed log of all of my kids. So I would record any videos that I had would go into a Google Drive. And I quickly found that was an expensive route, and it took a lot of time. I think every 5 days I was getting your Google storage is full here. So I kept adding on that way. And then I had a separate lesson log where I would detail what we did in our lessons, what we covered, where I want to move forward. So I had very many different documents, different folders that were happening. And now Onform has allowed me to not only have all their videos in one spot, I also like to put their homework in their folders. So if I have some of my kids, what I'll do is we'll work on a drill while we're in our lesson. If it feels really good while they're doing it, we'll record them doing it. We'll also record me doing it, or I'll put reference content in there. So we have like a hub of reference, some hitters, some pitchers, and you can pull it right up immediately, and you can do side-by-side comparison. So we'll put their video next to either the reference content or the video of me. And that way they have a video and they can see it to do their homework, but also to compare to what the top level athletes are doing in that way. Which is, we've gotten a lot of really great feedback from that. I've seen a lot of progress in all of my kids who are working that way. In addition to, now in the notes, I can put all of my notes about our lessons within their notes and keep it all in one spot, which has made life so much easier for me. Right at the end of the lesson, we just go in, I put a little, this is what we worked on, this was the homework, this is what we're trying to do. And just to have everything in one centralized place has been amazing.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Jenna. Denise, I think everyone's probably getting antsy and wanting to see this live analysis that you promised us you would do. If you don't mind sharing your screen and kind of diving right into what Onform looks like for you, and kind of how you use that on a everyday basis, analyzing your athletes.
Yeah, and just I think before we do that, so a couple of things. So when I do these assessments, it's got a lot of different moving parts to it. So when someone comes into PFP and we do different levels. So we do like deep dives, right? So we have other technology. So we'll do 4D, we'll do kinematic assessment, like we'll do like pelvis, chest, upper arm, like we do that sequence. We have 4D, we have KVS, we might do Proteus, we use pocket radar. We'll do power assessments, whether that's like vertical jump or 5-10-5. So this is all kind of put into some type of hub where we do a full body assessment. And so I've written some software so that they get reports on this. We do also the physical screens from on-base use, so we know their mobility and stability. So that gets charted for them. And then we do these pitching inhibitors. So we know like how their body moves, we know their power, we know kinematically where they are, and then I'll do this pitching assessment in Onform. So they're getting kind of the whole picture. So this is one piece of it. And then what I do is I'll record myself doing this assessment. So I'll talk it through. So in Onform, you can annotate, so you hit record your screen and you could talk through it. At the end, I'll hit stop, and then immediately, it's so fast. It doesn't render. It doesn't take 30 minutes to do what it does. I have the link right there. So I take I copy the code right into the form, and I just give the form, it just goes right into that full report, and the student athlete gets the full report. And so they see all their scores and they click right on there and they get this assessment from Onform right in their report. So I just wanted to show you like kind of how I use this. And this is just one way I do an assessment, but I just wanted to give you like a piece of the picture. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So and this is just, give credit to like the on-base U community. This is one of my side things that I do with Dr. Rose. And this is like what I'm going to run you through it's just a 15-point, we call them like inhibitors or characteristics. It's a really easy way to show you how we run through just looking at a picture really quickly. That's a quick way to do it.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, and this is exactly why we're excited you join us today, because we know you're one of the premier facilities in the country, and you just explained why you don't leave anything untouched with your analysis of your athletes.
Thanks. Well, I won't do like an hour-long thing. I'm going to keep it as fast as I possibly can. So you say that until I go for 2 hours, and then he's got it. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. All right, can you see my screen?
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, and for everybody, just as a brief tech moment, Denise is going to use her computer. She's using a Mac to do this. You can use a Mac, you can use another iOS device, iPhone, iPad. We just launched an Android app that provides some basic functionality. It doesn't have nearly the complement of fancy tools and multicam and things like that the iOS does, but you can at least do some basic voiceovers and comparisons on Android. So just wanted to let people know kind of the platform that Denise is showing live right here. So Denise, take it away.
All right, so this is Emily. She's a freshman. I used Emily because she's like one of those super curious kids and loves this app and watches video all the time. So, and she made a lot of progress this year and loves doing this. So the first thing we do is we look like this video is taken from these 2 vantage points. So the first one, if you look on the left-hand side, this is called down the line, and you set the video, the camera up in portrait mode, and you put it straight down the spine, dead on. And then the second one on the right is, called front view, and you just set the phone up in landscape right in the middle of the stride. And so we start in front. Whoa, sorry, gone wild. This is a little different when you're in this presenter mode. So I might go a little wild at first, and I need to move you guys out of the way because your heads are right. Hold on. I can't get rid of your faces.
It is always a little tricky to use Zoom and presenting screens like this. Trust me.
Yep, give me just one more second to get you guys. There we go. Okay, I can't see your faces, so don't make faces at me. All right, so the first thing we do is we move the picture. I'm looking on the right-hand side to what we call liftoff. And you take a line and you draw it right off that front knee. Okay, so these line tools are amazing. And this first, we'll call it characteristic, is called standing up. And so when you're a pitcher, you want to be in a position where your center of mass is in front of your center of pressure. So if you imagine like this is for center of mass, right? You want to get it in front of your center of pressure, which is right at that front foot. So you stop the video at liftoff, which is that back foot just coming off the ground. Okay, and you want to say, is the sternum, okay, which is right at that Planet Fastpitch logo, is it in front of that line, which hers is not? And is the toe behind the line, which her toe is behind the line, but her sternum is not. So if you could see right there, her center of mass could be more in front, right? So she's not really in an optimal position to be getting off the mound as well as she could be. Okay, so we call that standing up. So she could be in a better position. So we would probably recommend for her to probably move that back foot up a little bit closer to the mound so she could get a little bit better push going forward. Okay, so that's the first one. And so I have a really cool score sheet that I mark up and they get later. Okay, but that's the first thing we do. So these line tools are amazing. The kids see it, they're like, oh, look at that. Like I'm in a kind of a crummy spot. I need to get my body out there a little bit better. Okay, so then the next one we look over on the left-hand side, and now we're going to talk about space. And so the body needs to create space for the arm to move freely. So the lower half needs to give the upper half room to move. So we call this next one losing space. So we want to have space to move. So we use our line tools again. I go back over here, I get the line tool. And right at the start of the circle, circle start, we draw a line straight off of that hip, good 90-degree line right there. And I love how you see how this gives you your line degrees. And we want to make sure that that pelvis is pushing away from the line. So we're looking for negative pelvic thrust right here. And we're looking for basically a triangulation, which Emily's not getting that. So ideally, we're looking for something that would be pushing back away from that line, which we're not seeing from Emily. So I'm going to undo. Okay, and you see how her pelvis is kind of riding that line. So we're going to call that losing space. So she's not doing great with that inhibitor either. So you see how she's kind of hitting herself right there. And so that's very visible from that. So that's not a good one. So I'm going to check that she's losing space. All right, so that's number 2. All right, we're going to stay on that left-hand side. Okay, and we're going to look at the next one. And we're going to see how well she's moving forward off the mound. So again, this is another assessment of how she's pushing off the mound. And a lot of times pitchers, when they swing back, they open up, like they turn sideways. Okay, so you see how on the right-hand side, let me clear out these, see how maybe she opens her chest a little bit. You see the PFP logo facing us, but she's not really too sideways. And it's really important as a pitcher to drive straight. Like you want to keep your shoulders and your hips really moving straight. You want your pelvis to be running at the catcher, as straight as possible for about 3 feet. You want that pelvis to run about 9 miles an hour for about 3 feet. So Emily's doing a pretty good job at that. Like she's really pushing straight. If she were turning sideways at this moment too early, we'd call that staying open. So see how she's pretty good right there. If you were seeing her sideways, we'd call it staying open. So that's pretty good. Now she starts to turn. So she passes that one. All right. So the next one's called breaking plane. So this one, we're going to use our line tool again, which is awesome. So we're going to go back to that same line tool we used before. So we're going to start back where we were before. We're going to draw a line kind of right off that shoulder. Oops. Right about there, that 90-degree line right off that shoulder. Okay, and now we're going to assess her arm path. And her arm needs to stay on the inside, that glove side of the line. So her elbow breaks a little, but this is really important right now that she gets her upper body to turn open and stay. That looks good. That looks good. If her arm touches that line or crosses that line on the right side, she's going to get in some trouble. So let's see. Oh, she's good. She's good. She's good. She's good. So her shoulder capsule does a really nice job in staying in there. Okay. Now at On Base U, what we do, which is cool, okay, is we look at mechanics. We say, okay, is it a mechanical thing or, is there something going on her shoulder, right? And so we look at these videos and we say, all right, can I fix it with a drill, or do I need to do a physical screen, or both, right? To see like what we need to do to make sure she's okay. And sometimes it's a shoulder capsule issue, but we wouldn't know it unless we looked at that video and said, oh, there's a problem right there. Okay, now we check out her legs and we go over to the right-hand side. We say, is she doing a good job getting off the mound? And so we take the video to max knee height. So I'm looking at her stride leg and I'm stopping it when it hits the peak of her knee lift, which is right about here. Right about there. Oh, geez. Sorry. Clear. Right about here. Okay. And then we say, is that leg, is she getting good hip extension? Is that pointed back? That looks good to me. Okay. Marching would be if like right here, she were in like this position. You see, a lot of kids don't really get that strong extension. So that would be called marching. And we see that a lot at the youth levels. They don't really get that good drive and that good hip extension because you're looking for, as a pitcher, you're looking to go from triple flexion, which is a bend in the ankle and the knee and the hip, to good triple extension right there. Okay. She could do a little bit better right there, but that's pretty darn good. Okay. And then the next thing we're going to look for is called hanging back. And so hanging back is once you get here, okay, I'm going to look at when this foot starts to drag. Okay, and the timing relationship of where that foot is in the arm circle. So where is Emily's pitching arm in relation to when her foot starts to drag? So it's not dragging yet. It's not dragging yet. It's not, it starts to move right about now. I would say probably right there. And her arm is right here. Where's her humerus? And it's pretty good. Okay, if her foot didn't start dragging by the time it made it to circle peak, we would call that hanging back. But I can tell you that the high performers start dragging like in this zone right here. They drag pretty early. They get off the mound and they start going soon. So Emily's pretty good. I'd love to see her maybe do it a little bit sooner, but she's not breaking any pitching laws, so she's doing okay. How's everybody doing? You still there? Everybody's muted. Okay, good.
Yes. Oh,
Doing
yeah.
good here. Yeah, we still have.
Okay, we're good. I was just making sure I didn't lose anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I going fast enough? We
Oh
good?
yeah, I think we've got enough. I think we generally, yeah, keep on going. This is what people came for right here, Denise.
Okay. I do this all the time by myself. I just talk to myself all the time in front of the computer. So I want to make sure.
And you
Okay.
can just to note, you can record that in a voiceover, not while you're, well, I think while you're on Zoom too, but you probably would use some of the feedback that you're providing to the Zoom participants now to the student through a voiceover, I'm guessing.
This is what I do every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've probably done like hundreds of these.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So then it's recorded and then I take the link and this is what I send everyone the links. It's so cool. So people get these really personalized assessments of their pitching motion from me. Anyway.
Amazing. And hey, just real quick, Denise, so that everybody understands, like you used our multicam setup, which is 2 iOS devices, like an iPhone maybe on the left in portrait, like you were saying, and an iPad or an iPhone in landscape on the right. But those two things talk to each other, right? So that's a feature inside Onform that gives you this synced view. We call it multicam if people are wondering how you actually captured that.
Yep, that's how I did it. And I did run into that issue inside of our facility because we had the firewall. So I worked around it by just sending using my throwing a hotspot from my iPhone to my old iPhone, and it worked great.
Cool.
But if I didn't have the firewall, it would have been really simple. But without it, I just had to throw just my own signal. So, if you're out of field, even you could just, use your own, hotspot. It's just so simple. It was great. It worked great.
Love it.
And you just have to just press one button. So you don't need two people. It's perfect. And if you don't sync it perfectly on the first one, your new feature that you could just correct the sync is unbelievable. It works great. So Thank
We'll
you
keep
for
on
doing-
going into the analysis. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood how you actually got the video.
Yeah, because this syncing is really important to see these two views, because you have to be able to see these two at the same time to fully understand things that go on inside of the pitching motion. So the next one's called arching. This, if you look at things that happen inside of a pitching motion, you look at lower back issues, you look at shoulder issues when it comes to pitchers who are getting injured. Arching is one of the things that really get some pitchers in trouble, and it's right in here. If you look at lower back, and arching is, if you look back in here, no, that was huge, sorry. But if you look at anything in the lower back that doesn't stay straight, that's a problem. So you look at like L4, L5, like could be stress fracture, it could be lack of core control, so, the oblique abdominals. Sometimes the back arches because it's trying to create mobility. Whatever it is, that's an issue. So you have to look for that. Emily used to have terrible arching right in here because she wasn't opening. She's doing so much better. She just cranks it a little bit at the end. I think she's doing it to create a little bit extra power now, but she still has a little bit of an arch. So you want to screen for that. The next thing you want to look for in pitching is, like, if you're an airplane pilot, you want to make sure your plane is ready to land before you land it. And the point that we look for in pitching is right here. We want to look right at the peak, at circle peak. And circle peak is always defined as where the humerus is, not necessarily where the ball is. So is the humerus, oh, I'm still in, oops, hold on. A lot of self-talk when you do these things. I was in squirrely line, not. So is the humerus straight at noon, right? It doesn't matter where the ball is. And at that moment, you draw a line from the middle of the head down to the belly button. And that line needs to be angled slightly back. That has to be in reverse posture at that moment in time. If you're upright or leaning forward, you're not going to be in a great position to land that airplane. You've got to have a little bit of a reverse posture back. And if you hit that checkpoint right there, you should be in a pretty good spot to land the plane. So she's in a good spot right there. So we're going to keep advancing through. We're going to see where she is at landing. So we want to see where she is at foot touch. I'm going to blow this up just a little bit. Where she is at foot touch, let's call it right there. And how we assess that is we draw a line that bisects that shin. Okay, and is that ball past that line and she's in a good spot? So that means she landed on time. It's pretty good. Okay, so she didn't land early. And then we're going to see how she did with her drag foot. Okay, I think she's violating in her drag foot. So let's take a look on both angles. We're going to call this anchoring. And so if the medial border, so if you guys all think about the inside part of your shoe, think about the inside part of your shoe down to your heel. If that lands before your stride foot lands and it impedes your ability to move forward, we call that anchoring. So it's hard to see on the right-hand side. You're not sure on the right-hand side, right? But if you look on the left-hand side, look at her heel on the left-hand side video, you can see it kind of hits the ground before she lands. We call that anchoring. Now, I'm not totally sold that it's stopping her ability to drive forward. She's got a 6-foot stride. It might stop her ability to drive forward, but we'll call it that. So if that lands, if the heel hits, it's called anchoring. Okay. We have a few more to do. She's pretty good at the rest of these. The next one's called locking. So we want to stop the video at the third quarter of the arm circle. We want to say, hey, how's that arm flexion right here? So is the elbow hot? does it have laxity? Can we create spin, or is it locked? Is it straight? If you really want to get technical about it, you could go to your tools here and you could go, oh, I want to use my angle calculator. And I want to see 140 degrees. That's pretty legit. Between 138, 139. There's a lot of average angles that matches up really well here. So that's really good. Pretty nice angle calculator there Onform. Nice job. Okay, so that's great. She passes that. She has a hot elbow. It's not locking. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is her lead leg. So we're going to get right here. I'm going to get rid of that angle. I go back to a regular line. I'm going to make it, let's say yellow, because it looks pretty good. Love all these colors. I love the thickness. It's awesome. Okay. I'm going to draw a line right off that front shin. And that lead leg needs to be like the gas pedal. I want to make sure that I'm pushing into the ground so that it comes up through and it creates that rotation in and kicks that back, that front hip back, right? It can't drift, it can't leak, it can't keep moving. And so if my shin keeps moving past that line, that's called drifting. But Emily does a great job at that front leg deceleration. So look at that, that's great. I mean, she doesn't leak, she doesn't drift past that. So that's awesome. That's a great way to do that. And hitting, they run that line up through the front hip. So that's good. Nice job, Em. Okay, and then we have 3 more to do. So I'm going to clear out everything so it doesn't look jammed up. You get down here to connection. Okay, and we want to see if she's pushing the ball or if she's got the ability to create whip. So use our line tool. And we draw a line that bisects the bicep right through there. And if that ball has got good angle back behind, she's not pushing. That's really good. And the more angle you have back in here, you can see that there's more ability to create whip, right? If she were like right up against that line, she'd be pushing. So that looks good. And then the next thing we want to look for at that moment is we're going to draw a line right at the front of the arm. And we want to have upper arm stability. So as she releases that hammerhead, right, as she releases the ball, does the shoulder stay stable through there? And she does a great job with that. And that, if her shoulder would sweep past there and not stay stable, we would call that sweeping. So she's doing great there. Awesome. And then at ball release, how's her posture? And she's like straight up and down. So she's not leaning. And so she's doing great there. So basically Emily's doing a great job, except in the beginning, she's standing up a little bit. She's losing a little space with her lower half. She's arching her back and her back foot, her drag foot might be anchoring just a little bit, but otherwise she looks pretty good. And that's the quickest I have.
That's good. You just went through the on base U 15 characteristics, right? I mean, it's cool to see that live. We have a couple questions for you. Do you ever use the overlay tool? Have you ever played around?
Oh yes, that's our next thing. So we did. Let's go there. Boom. And Aaron. So Jenna and Aaron O'Day. Aaron's going to UMass, Jenna's alma mater. So we use overlay for a lot of different reasons. For mechanics, right? You could do overlays for tunneling. So you can see how your pitches run together. If they break late or they're running together really well, you could use overlays to see if you're tipping your changeup, right? So here's an example of, and before I play it, like I like to set up the camera like in the batter's box, right? Like right at like the eyes of the hitter. So here's a left-handed hitter with an overlay. What is this changeup? Wait, what was this?
The left-handed hitter changeup is what you clicked on.
Changeup what, Kurt?
Left-handed hitter changeup, and then she tunneled it with the left-handed hitter rise.
Okay, rise change. Okay.
So that was the changeup, and you just have to, I think you have to add hit the compare.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, I thought it was already overlaid. Sorry.
Sorry.
That was the change up, so I have to do that. Got it. That was really weird.
Just hit select there.
Select.
Yeah.
And then you can do it from
Oh, I see what I need to do. Move this little thing.
The Zoom interface blocks half the screen when you're doing it.
That's why, yeah.
That's what people, yeah, what's the struggle is, what's happening there.
There we go. And then
link.
There you go. So cool, isn't it? So we had all of our kids do this year several times with the, the fastball and the changeup, because I thought it was really important for them to Where's the play button? Play this a few more times. And then you could zoom in on her. Did I just mess that up? Yeah, let me just stay with what I'm doing. You could really kind of look at, like, is she changing anything about how she's, taking the ball out of the glove? Is she moving differently? Is her timing different with the two different pitches? Like, is she tipping anything? Like, you could argue that her arm speed's a little bit different on the two, right, Jenna?
Yes, that's actually something that she pointed out when we were watching the overlays as it was happening, was that her changeup, her arm speed was slower. And
Yeah, you
sometimes,
see that coming out of the glove. Yep. But you can see how they run together. Let's look at, well, and you guys want to see something,
Can
that's
I
a
throw
good,
another question your way, Denise? It's neat to see how you're doing these. Do you ever use the skeleton overlay?
yes, yes. I think kids respond, well, before we move on, you just have to be careful. My instructions were, hey, Jenna, you have a lesson with Aaron tonight. Can you blah, 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 get a tripod, put it in the batter's box, blah, 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 and then, bless yourself and say a prayer that blah, 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 you don't hit the tripod. Okay. And then here we go.
Wham.
This is,
oh, wait.
it was Aaron's phone, so it wasn't Jenna's phone. Yeah, we do use overlay. The kids actually do really well. For whatever reason, let me pull up, let me just open Aaron for a second. I'll show you what that is. I have to get rid of
If you click on that, you'll get the little, I don't know if it's, you might have your thing blocking it again in the top left there. The little man icon.
Oh, right there. There you go. Yeah, the people respond really, really well to this. I think it gives people a really good visual.
And this is another way, Denise, that you can get that arm angle that you did earlier where it was 140. If you click right there on the elbow joint, if you want to show everyone how you can easily, click it again and it's the other angle.
It's awesome.
Click 212 again and it'll do the inside angle. There you go.
Yeah. So some people like that, I think there's good uses for the skeleton, and then there's also how you did the angle, you just drew it yourself. I think there's really good uses for both of those.
That's phenomenal. Yep. I love it. The spine angles. Yeah, it's terrific. Sorry, I didn't point that out earlier. I forgot about it.
Oh, no problem. We had a bunch of good questions. I answered a few just while you were chatting and threw a couple at you live. So thanks for being flexible and bouncing around there. But we're coming up on an hour, and I think we've learned some really cool ways that you analyze stuff, which I know is what people really wanted to hear. I wanted to thank you guys for working through it. And, Kate, you kind of brought up a question earlier. Why don't you close us off?
Yeah,
You want-
first, Denise and Jenna, thank you so much. It was a real treat for everyone on their lunch break watching this. I know that that was very informative, even for myself. But just, I think there's a lot of coaches out there intimidated to start using video, or they take it on their iPhone and then they don't really know what to do with it, or they just send it to their athlete. But there's a lot of coaches out there wanting to increase their ability to develop their players. And we all know video is a great way to do that. What kind of advice would you give to any coaches, both of you, that are considering using Onform, or just whipping out their iPhone and recording and just looking to make a change and improve their ability to enhance their players just by using video? What kind of advice would you have?
There's no wrong answer. You can't go wrong by trying. And I've made more mistakes. I look back at some of the things I've tried and I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I doing? But I look back at some, if I didn't try, I wouldn't be where I am. And, I think at the end of the day, just sitting down and collaborating with your athlete is the best possible thing you could do. And meeting them where they are. Video is the best way to do that. You don't have to have all the answers. If you sit down and you just say, how does this feel? Let's look at it together. Tell me what it feels when you feel that. Let's find the moment where that is. When this one felt good, let's figure out why it felt good together. And when this one felt terrible, why did it feel good? Like, why did it feel terrible? Let's make a word, like call it something. Like when it felt good, name it. Elephant, great. How did elephant feel? You know what I mean? And then you could assign a word to what that looks like. And it doesn't have to be technical. You don't have to know how to do a 15-point on-base U assessment to be a good video coach. I mean, I think just being able to just exchange something with someone is good. Just to be able to say yes and no and tag it and just say, this is what your good day looked like. And be able to share what a good day looked like with your kid is some of the best things you can do. Just to be able to, honestly, to be a good parent and to hold the video there and just be able to say, do you want, like, just show it when they want to see it is one of the best things you could do. You don't even have to say much. If on demand, if your athlete just wants to see it and it's there and you could just provide that is some of the best things you can do.
Demonstrates value, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Well, thanks so much, Denise, Jenna. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate your support. And I know the world loves hearing how a leader like you guys use the tools. And as always, we offer unlimited free support, Zoom demos, training. You can reach out to support@onform.com or just check out our website, onform.com, to learn more. If you want to learn more directly about it in your own coaching for everybody that's out there, we'd love to have a conversation. Kate is who you'll speak with, and she can give you a private tour of the whole app. And in the meantime, I just want to say, keep it up. I love seeing it used in real life scenarios, and that's kind of what keeps us going and keeps us excited, is empowering coaches to bring more objective analysis and data to your coaching. And we're going to continue to build really cool tools that allow you to do it.
Yeah, I'll say one thing, you guys, for everyone listening, there are a lot of companies out there. I've seen them all. I have a misfit toy island filled with things that I've bought, of like tech stuff that just doesn't work. And, there are a lot of things out there. Like, this is the answer, this thing's going to make you throw harder and the next thing in softball. And that's not what Onform's doing. They're just giving you a tool, right? That's just really helpful. And, your support has been unbelievable. I mean, I kind of blew up like our whole program. I deleted like an entire program, and in the middle of the night, I'm texting Gear, and he resolves it for me. Like, you didn't just take our payment and just let us like fail. You've supported us through this whole transition, and that's unbelievable, because there have been a lot of situations that hasn't happened. So I just need to thank you for all the support, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of growth, and I just can't appreciate that enough. A lot of companies out there that don't do that. So
Thank you.
And if there are any coaches out there, I understand the struggle is real, and I just keep going for it. If you have any questions, like I love softball and I love this. So if you have any direct questions for me on how you did it, like, just Jen and I can answer them. We don't have all the answers, but I mean, we just live in this every day. So, we're here at Planet Fastpitch.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. We get that it's your business. So, we are honored that people entrust our tools and products to run their business, and we don't take it lightly that, this is an important thing. So I appreciate that. The kudos. Thank you guys both for being here. And everybody, we are recording this. This will come through your emails. Stay tuned. We'll do more of these. We already had a request for a hitting webinar. Maybe we'll go on a deep dive there. But everybody, have a great rest of your day, and thanks so much for watching.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.